So it's barely been 2 weeks, and one of the things I was worried about, well, it's happening. So the behaviour of other people was going to be a problem, and I could anticipate this very, very easily. I've pointed it out many times, but now I want to really make a fuss about it. So we got Skullkiller hoodie and pants right here, and there's quite a lot of context behind why they're starting to go below their Rustore price. First of all, we'll go with the obvious. As we can see here with Skullkiller, the complete set, with the armour and the clothing, well, you might notice that the clothing right here had more sales in comparison to the armour. To be more precise, or to elaborate a thing, we know that the Skullkiller chestplate had the lowest amount of sales. Now, theoretically speaking, for a 100% complete set of Skullkiller, there can only be up to 17,279 of them in circulation with everything that we have available. Theoretically, there can only be 100% a 100% complete set of these, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, only up to 17,279. Sorry if I mumbled a bit there, but you understand what I'm trying to say. So that means there's quite an excess of the face mask. There's quite a lot more excess of these two as well. And this is partly the reason why these are starting to go down in price, and partly the reason why this started to go down a fair bit in price as well in comparison to this, where this jumped up a whole lot more. This kind of went down a bit more in comparison to the price it was from what it was earlier. Now, yeah, of course, this was cheaper than this, and, well, even then, this sold more and it cost more. So you can see that this had more demand. It's a very interesting looking face mask. People do like this a lot. But as a whole, people are really liking Skullkiller. But with what we saw here, with the amount of sales in comparison to these two, we now realise that these are potentially oversaturated. And with such an excess amount bought, by excess I mean people were buying them purely with the intent to sell them. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. People want to make a profit. That's understandable. But when far too many people do it, we have far too many in excess in comparison to the average amount of what we already have with the other core pieces, or in this particular case, just the tier 3. And this is likely going to cause a whole lot more of these potentially appearing on the Steam market. So, for a quick comparison, how many chest plates and face masks do we have on the Steam market? So, as we can see, the chest plate, there's only 61 of them on the market, sat at around $3, and the buy orders are looking very strong to keep that price up to around $3. Very nice. Now we look at the face mask, and when it appears, I can show you that there are, there you go, 72. So there's only a little bit more, but again, the buy orders fairly strong in comparison to the price. It could probably be a bit more higher with the buy order prices, but at the end of the day, it's sitting here at $3.25, perfectly fine. And we are well aware that the chest plate and the face mask jumped up in price. So, oh look, clothing. So it doubled, tripled in price, and then it started to cool down afterwards. So what is going on right now? Well, here's part of the problem. We do not have Skullkiller Tier 2 at the moment. And we can check the workshop. We can show you the collection link. So remember, you've always got to keep an eye on the workshop. And here we are. No Tier 2. Plenty of us would like to see a full set. And I'm pretty sure that's part of the reason why so many people bought into these two. They were expecting there to be a full set. They were expecting them to potentially jump up in price. Have a nice spike. Because we saw that with the Tier 3. And yes, there is still spike potential if we do see the appearance of the Tier 2 Skullkiller. Totally fine. But you've got to take into consideration how long did it take for these to appear compared to these. It took about 3 Rustore rotations, a good 3-4 weeks. So a lot of people just instantly assumed, yeah, these are going to be instant profit. Yeah, I'm going to make so much money. No. A lot of people have bought too many of them and they didn't realise they probably had to wait a while. And plenty of people tend to be impatient. They lack the knowledge of that specific information, where it was probably going to maybe take 3 or 4 Rustore rotations to finally see the Tier 2. So, yeah, people are now starting to sell up. So how many of the hoodies and the pants are there on the Steam market? So 149 hoodies already. These have been marketable. Yeah, so there's no more cooldowns. Everybody that can sell them are selling them. They are putting them on the Steam market. And if I look at all of the orders, yep, we've got a big 46 right there. So there's already signs of dumping. So I made a big fuss about how many we're going to potentially sell with the Skullkiller clothing. I was worried about this, and it's already starting to show itself for the very thing I was worried about. It's now going below its rush store price. So when we compare it to the buy orders, yeah, the bulk of the buy orders only really went up to about 80 cents, and this was a 99-cent item. Now, that's not a major difference, is it? So as of now, this isn't great, but it's reasonably fine, you know. This is a fairly new skin. There are going to be plenty of people trying to sell them, and as time goes on, that quantity will gradually go down, and chances are we do have that tier 2 potentially appearing. So this could easily just get all bought out. But for the meantime, you're probably going to see more and more and more of these being put in the Steam market because people are going to get impatient. People don't fully understand that, you know, for the whole collection to finally get completed, it might take some time. You know, just because Tier 2 does appear in the workshop doesn't mean it's going to be immediately accepted and appear in a rush store. We don't know. But for the past week that we just had, we had no armour and no clothing, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do get some things like fast-tracked into the next rush store rotation. It could happen. It could. But like the very thing I'm talking about right now is also affecting the likes of Black Gold. Black Gold armour is suffering. No, the gloves are fine. But these two are suffering because people didn't see or understand that there was actually a bit of a pattern. Clothing came out on Wipe Day. The armour, the tier 3 armour, came out on Wipe Day. Do you reckon Black Gold tier 2 might come out on the next Wipe Day? So yeah, people got impatient and people started to sell up. So this is where you're going to have to kind of figure out the likely patterns. This is where you have to put a bit of an effort in to figure out when things first appear in the workshop and when they're likely going to be appearing in a rush store. Yes, it's a bit of a stretch, like not everything makes complete sense, but a lot of what I've seen here with the Skullkiller could have been prevented if people just were more knowledgeable of how this was likely going to roll out. I knew Horror Meow and his helper. I don't know who the other guy is. I have to quickly check it up. My apologies, other guy. But yeah, we'll look at the pants now real quickly. So yeah, 139, very similar to the hoodie. How many are there? How much are the buy orders, I meant to say, sorry. And yeah, same thing. Most of the build-up went up to about 80 cents. It's going to keep that price up reasonably enough. It might go down to 90 cents maybe. But there is spike potential. Tier 2 could be appearing. And right now, on a Sunday, this very well likely will be happening as of tomorrow. Because if you are aware, Monday and Tuesday are the days where we see all of the new skins appear. And that's where we can see the things that we're speculating. So we currently are speculating that Skullkiller Tier 2 and Black Gold Tier 2 could be appearing tomorrow. And when we do see it, that's when we start to anticipate. Because now we're like, right, surely that's going to be accepted soon. And then that's where you can start making moves. Maybe you should do a stronger buy order on the pre-existing core pieces. Knowing with the fact that when the newest core piece comes out, it's going to cause the already existing pieces to spike up in price. Remember what I just showed you with the Skullkiller Tier 3 when the Skullkiller clothing appeared. Doubled, tripled in price. And that very likely will happen with the clothing now. So yeah, this is why I say you need to curate a workshop, and I do have a video for that, so you're going to have to go through here and scroll down. Where is it? Workshop curation. My apologies, I should have had that video nice and ready. How to set up a curated workshop. Where are you? It's definitely here somewhere. I'm sure you can... Oh, here you go. How to set up a curated Rust workshop for yourself. So get that nice and set up. And every Monday, keep an eye on what appears, and then you too can start anticipating. But as of now, it seems a lot of people just don't seem to understand how this was going to roll out. And let's go find out who the people are involved. So, Horror Meow and Just Mouse. Sorry, Just Mouse. I couldn't remember your name. I'm very sorry. But yeah, these two seem to like to take their time in making the skins. And you know what? That's totally fine. I'd rather we have a good skin than a rush skin. So this might potentially appear tomorrow, or we potentially might see that Tier 2 appear next week. I was expecting this, and that's why I did not buy the clothing. I knew this was likely going to happen, and I did a buy order instead because I knew how other people were likely going to behave. This did very well the very second this appeared, and loads of people just assumed, oh wow, it's going to be an easy profit, and they bought more and more and more, and they bought excess. They bought them purely with the intent to sell, and well, have fun trying to sell that now for a profit. So yeah, this is something that usually always happens. And so as long as you start learning the patterns with how collections usually roll out, and I have learned from the past. I have a great example. I'll quickly show you just now how bad it can get. So do you remember Copper Set? Very nice set, rolled out a good month or two ago, and it completed with the tier 3. But as it progressed, we saw very noticeable problems. So it started off with the tier 2, kind of came out of nowhere, but it was very interesting to see. And the very second this appeared, do you remember the old policeman's jacket? That's not affiliated with this, just to point out, but the policeman's jacket jumped up in price because this randomly appeared. And this came out, people were intrigued, and then they realised, oh, hang on a minute, clothing's appearing. We saw this on the workshop, and then bam, it appeared. And because a lot of people saw potential hype with this Copper Set, people with the ability to run around and role play as the police in Rust servers, oh, that's amazing. And well, it's the same scenario. They thought, well, surely this is going to stonk, surely this is going to be easy money. So if this sold 22,600, this sold 25,000, and this sold 26,300, what happened with the clothing? 35,000 sales, 33,000 sales. Far too many were bought. Oversaturation happened. And now, even though this came out how long ago? The end of May, so May 26. How many of them are on the market at the moment? Come on. 486. And with 486 in the market, which is far too many, of course, it's nowhere near its Rustore price. It sold for 99 cents, it's now selling for 62 cents, and we can very easily see the dumping. So, far too many bought in excess with the pure intent to sell. When everybody started to list them on the Steam market, people started to unload their stock, people started to undercut each other, people noticed the price going down, they panic sold, so they sold all their stock, and then people undercut each other still, and gradually, slowly, the price just kept going down and down and down and down and down. Yes, it did spike up in price when Tier 3 finally appeared. As you can see, this appeared a good about 3 Rustore rotations later. This did suffer before this even came out, and when this appeared, it kind of jumped up a bit, but now that we've got the full set, this stayed up, this kind of held on, but this crashed. These two crashed. Let's get a quick look at the pants. And yeah, 209 isn't as bad, but less than ideal. I'd say, on average, every Rust skin would likely have around 100 quantity on the Steam market nowadays. So if you have more than that, then it starts to look a bit questionable. Probably a bit too much. But rest assured, I assure you right here, 486 is too much. So, yeah. That is something that can happen with every collection in the future. It's something that we always constantly have to keep an eye out for. But I am confident enough to sit here and say if we do see the Tier 2 eventually appear in a Rustore, these will get bought out along with the Tier 3 as well. So, maybe if you're going to speculate the appearance of Tier 2, maybe you want to jump in and buy some more of these whilst they're getting cheaper. Because we know, and we saw when these appeared, these jumped up in price. What do you reckon's going to happen when Tier 2 appears? Well, I said it about 5 times already. I'm pretty sure you know what's going to happen. So this is just a lesson to learn with many collections in the future. Be informed, realise how things likely play out. So with Black Gold, I realised, well, if all of the pieces seemingly keep appearing around Wipe Day, then there's a good chance that Black Gold Tier 3 was going to suffer because people would be impatient and they wouldn't know how it's going to play out. So I stuck with, I put down a very nice generous buy order, and lo and behold, what account is it? Is it this one? I do believe it is. How many things am I buying? Scroll down, and yep, Black Gold, 170. This sold for like 199 in the Rust store for me. So I've been picking up quite a lot of these recently. If we can just go to the next page. Yep, been buying some Skullkiller clothing. It's happening. I feel like I made the right move. I did a very nice, generous buy order, and when we eventually see the tier 2, I'll probably be selling these for double the price I bought them for. So, sounds good. I've learned from experience. I see patterns. I'm just now presenting it all to you. So I hope you kind of get the idea. Figure out how usually some figure out how some of these creators tend to take with making their skins, and then you can kind of figure out when things are likely going to appear. So I hope that was digestible and understandable. I kind of rambled, but I'm pretty sure you understand what I was trying to explain. So have fun, and don't forget, keep an eye out for the workshop tomorrow.